people went to sleep, with their life savings safe in the bank. They woke up and couldn't touch a single euro. Not a glitch, not a cyber attack, not a robbery. The banks were still there. The money, technically still there. But access? Gone. ATMs stopped. Cards failed. Transfers blocked. No warning, no vote, no consent. Just a decision made overnight by their own government. This didn't happen in some unstable country. This happened in Europe in 2013, in Cyprus. Before the crisis, Cyprus looked like a financial paradise. A small island nation, but deeply connected to global finance. It used the euro. It was part of the European Union. And its banks were growing fast, very fast. Money was pouring in from all over the world, especially from wealthy individuals and corporations. A lot of it came from Russia. Why Cyprus? Because it offered something rare: high interest rates, low taxes, and a reputation for stability. If you were rich and wanted your money to grow quietly, Cyprus looked perfect. So billions flowed in. Deposits grew far beyond the size of the country's economy. That should have been a warning, but nobody stopped it because everything looked fine. Accounts were growing, returns were consistent, banks looked strong, confident, reliable. But behind the scenes, those banks were taking risks, big risks. They were investing heavily in Greek government bonds.
At the time, Greece was already in trouble. Its debt was spiraling, its economy was weakening, and slowly the value of its bonds started collapsing. For most countries, this was a warning sign. For Cyprus, it was a disaster waiting to happen, because Cypriot banks had put enormous amounts of money into those bonds. Not a small percentage, a huge exposure. So when Greece restructured its debt and investors took losses, Cyprus didn't just lose money, it lost billions, almost overnight. The banks were suddenly undercapitalized. They didn't have enough money to cover deposits. And once that happens, trust begins to break. Quietly at first, then rapidly. The government stepped in, but the problem was too big. Cyprus itself didn't have enough money to rescue its banks, so it turned to Europe, the European Union, the European Central Bank, the IMF. A bailout was negotiated, but this wasn't a normal bailout. This came with a condition that shocked the world. Instead of taxpayers alone funding the rescue, depositors would take the hit. If you had more than 100,000 euros in the bank, a portion of your money would be taken, not voluntarily, not as a tax, but as a forced loss to recapitalize the banks. This was called a bail-in, and it changed everything. Because until then, people believed their bank deposits were safe, untouchable. Now, the moment this was announced, panic spread. People rushed to withdraw their money, but they couldn't because the banks were closed for days, then weeks. Capital controls were imposed. Withdrawals were limited, transfers restricted. You could only take out small amounts at a time. Businesses couldn't operate normally. Imports slowed down. The economy froze. Imagine running a company and suddenly you can't access your own cash. Imagine needing to pay for food and your card doesn't work. This wasn't theory. This was real life for an entire country. Eventually, the system stabilized. The banks reopened. The bailout went through. But the damage was permanent. People lost money. Trust was shattered. And Cyprus became a global warning, a case study, a lesson. Because for the first time in modern Europe, it was proven that bank deposits are not always guaranteed.
And here's what makes this story truly unsettling. Nothing illegal happened. No hackers, no criminals, no external attack. This was a decision made within the system to save the system at the expense of the people inside it. Your money in the bank feels safe until the day it isn't.
And if you like real stories like this, stories that show what's really happening behind the scenes, make sure you like the video and smash the subscribe button.